ask about Eddie Gilbert. As I was talking to you beforehand with Dutch Mantel, he's got loads of Eddie Gilbert stories. And the way he puts it, and I think it's a great way to put it, is that Eddie had two addictions, drugs and wrestling. And he thinks that wrestling might have been the more all-consuming of the two addictions with Eddie. Is that probably fair to say?
Yeah, I throw in girls as a third addiction, but yeah.
The healthiest of the three by far.
Yes. That's the first time I ever met Sunny Tammy, whatever she wanted to be called at the time. She was coming out of his the place that I'd set him up here in Philadelphia to live in, one of the suites places. The furniture already furnished, etc. Corman Suites. I said, who's that? He goes, her name's Tammy. She wants to get in the business. Blah 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 blah. I don't need to know any more than
Fair.
that. Eddie was unique. Eddie had so much ability and so much talent. He was so smart, but he was so paranoid because he grew up in a part of the industry. Grew up during the years. Well, besides just everything being kayfabe, people were just so dishonest. Promoters were so dishonest, so he was always on guard. I tell the story about him picking up I believe, a Torch newsletter or an Observer. I'm not sure. He was reading and he goes, "Do you see that?" And I took it. So what? Read that. So it says Eddie Gilbert was in ECW Saturday night instead of rather he didn't work the show in Memphis, Tennessee, or whatever, Alabama, wherever it was. I said, "Yeah, you did. You did work our show, not that one." He goes, "Don't you know what they're saying?" I said, "They're not saying anything. You've got to read between the lines. They're saying I fucked that promoter there." And I did. I said, "Where are you reading? Where are you reading that?" I don't see anything. I said one sentence. He turned that into a complete, and I went, wow, this guy was paranoid. Paul was the same way, by the way, but he was very paranoid.
But the irony of that is that Eddie Gilbert was the one who got ECW started getting mentions in the dirt sheets in the first place, wasn't he?
100%. He kept saying to me, what do you want more? What do you want now? What else can we do? I said, well, number one, I see these sheets come out. They mentioned Smoky Mountain and what's going on in and WWE. They said, when do we get to that level? When do we, we're on TV now. When do we get to a level where, we're also considered another promotion that people should be looking at? He goes, oh, you want to be in the sheets? I said, well, yeah. 2 weeks later, there we were. That was Eddie. I mean, he had a relationship. He had relationships with those guys, obviously. He was able to make a phone call. And next thing you know, they had our ratings in there every week. They had our storylines, on and on and on. And we never looked back.
With
that was the springboard to getting more popularity outside of the Philadelphia area.
With Eddie, I think generally people can sort of focus on some of the negatives, and I know he passed away early and everything, but what made him such a great booker?
Well, a lot of what he did, to be honest with you, was recreating things he'd done in Memphis, or Jerry Lawler had done in Memphis, from wearing the crown, being the king of Philadelphia, king of Memphis. A lot of the angles and the craziness. He wanted to be Jerry Lawler. They couldn't do it down there. They tried to recreate it up here, but up here, no one had gotten Memphis TV. No one had seen any of these angles. All they'd done, maybe picked up a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine and seen a couple pictures of Eddie running over Jerry Lawler with a car, but no one had ever seen all the other stuff or anything. So while to us it was creative and fresh, I don't know how much of it was original and how much wasn't. I know a lot of it was, and I know a lot of it wasn't. But he would do his own thing. We would go out and make Eddie, myself, and the cameraman. They would have on the red jacket, the glitter all over it, and the crown, and a T-shirt that said King Eddie Gilbert, and walk through a dance club with thousands of people, in the dark, with the big light on him with the camera. And she'd walk through, hello, it's okay, autographs, I'll get you later on. And people going, who's this guy? Get out of here. Remember dancing here. No one knew who he was. They were not a wrestling crowd. But he would act like he was the most popular guy in the room. And he was just funny like that. He'd keep a straight face and keep going and going. There was a cheesesteak place on South Street here, which is like a young person's hangout street, basically. And this place called Jim's King of Steaks. He walks up to order, and he gets in this argument with a guy who's that thick accented guy. Saying, "I'm the king. I'm the king of Philadelphia." The guy goes, "You want cheesesteak? Cheesesteak." He's king. I'm the king. The guy this argument. We're filming it, and it was on TV. But he was just spur of the moment funny. He had aspirations to be a politician.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very much so. He was really into politics. And I took him to a few variety club functions that were political fundraisers. And he sucked it up. I mean, he loved it. He really, that's what he really wanted to do when he got back to Memphis, or get back to Tennessee, I should say.
It's a wrestler in politics, eh? Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
And I've already sort of primed you that I was going to ask this beforehand, and you know that Shane Douglas was on my channel, or was sort of a semi-regular on my channel, and he gave a version of why Eddie Gilbert left the booking, not even there was a committee, why he left as ECW booker, and you've seen that, and you say that's not true, and what is the real story?
What happened was Eddie was missing work. He was not showing up at the studio to get the TV show done, which is what I was paying him for. I was paying for a place to live, paying him a salary, and that was his only job.
And you gave him a raise shortly beforehand as well.
Yeah, there's another issue about the Crockett issue. Yeah, he at one point jumping ahead of the timeline, but I guess what happened at that point was Paul was getting ready to go start a promotion with Jim Crockett, World Wrestling Network, WWN, and he was only in to help Eddie out for a little bit before he was going to leave. And he said to me one day, he goes, "Listen, Crockett offered me $200 or $500 more a week to come be his booker and work with him." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well," I said, "Well, what?" He goes, "He's offered me $500. Like, I got to take it." I said, "You got to be kidding me. I thought we're like buds. We're friends here." He said, "We are, but I can't turn that down." I said, "Well, I can't afford 500 more a week because what the budget is. We're paying everybody. You're right there at the meetings knowing what's being laid out and what's coming in. There's secrets between us." I said, "All right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 150 more." I think it went from 1350 to 1500. But that's it. I'm done. All right. I'll stay. He never had an offer on the table, but today I was still green. 2 years later, I would not have made that mistake. I would just have a nice day. That's the case. But you get like an extra 150 and then end up not showing up for work. You be home, I'm sick today, and this and that. I'm hungover, whatever it may be. So finally, it was a weekend that we had a show into the station by, I want to say, like that night, like at 6 o'clock, and should have been there the day before. And I go roll up to the studio, and Eddie, I left work, and ran, "What's going on?" "What do you mean, what's going on?" And, "The show's got to be there like yesterday. And I got to run to the studio now. Is it done? What's going on?" He goes, "What do you think, I'm not working? What do you want to be? You're going to be Crockett." "Crockett? What are you talking about?" He was so paranoid that he built up in his own mind a scenario where Jim Crockett and I were working together with Paul against him. I said, "Eddie, I've told you every single contact I've ever had. Not that I had to, but I did, because this is the way I am. I'm an honest guy. I told you every contact I ever had with Crockett. I told you every word that was ever spoken. There was nothing about you involved. And there's certainly nothing about me partnering up with him." He goes, "Well, that's it. That's it. You and that Crockett, you both, I'm done. I quit." I go, that's closer to being Amish than it is to being Jewish, Jim Crockett. Are you kidding me? What? And he goes, "Come on, Doug. We're taking our ball and going home." He got in the car, took Doug with him, went home. And I quit. That was the end of Eddie Gilbert, by the way. There was no Shane Douglas. There was no booking meeting. We didn't have booking meetings back then. So where that came from, I swear I have no idea. And in the story, it says something about my wife, and he did this, and then I came in and got him. I don't know where these wrestling fantasies start and where they end, but that was ridiculous. None of it was true.
It's funny, we got comments like that as well, saying, "Oh, well, the real reason is, by nameless, faceless people." It's like, well, where did you hear that?
It's crazy. The the person who actually ever said that way back in the beginning was Paul. He said, I heard Eddie said it. I said, no, what? No, he didn't. Where'd you get that from? He said, I don't know. That's what I heard. I guess that was the birth of it. But there was no booking meeting. Shane was never at a booking meeting. He certainly wasn't at that one. And then Eddie left, and then I had a show coming up 6 days later. Our first big main event, Eddie, Funk, um, Abby, and Stan Hansen. Now Eddie's out. I won 25% of my main event's not going to be there. After I promoted this on television for like 2 straight months, like 8 straight weeks of TV. That's just what I needed. My first big show to be a guy, promoter brings out someone who's not there. Or not, somebody's no shows and changes the whole card around, which you always hated as a fan. It happens sometimes because the promoter can't help it. But you don't have to like swerve anybody either. I didn't want to swerve anybody. So I got to get good replacement. Someone as good, if not better. So I picked up the phone, called Kevin Sullivan. He said, you got it, brother. Nancy, we're going to Philadelphia. So, here's Kevin all ready to go. Like 3 days after that, Eddie calls me up and goes, hey, boss, I'm sorry. I don't know what's the matter with me. I fucked up. I wasn't thinking straight. And I'll be there. Don't worry. I'll be there Saturday night. I said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, bud. I replaced you. I said, what do you mean you replaced me? I go, you quit 6 days before the show. It's now 2-3 days before the show. I had to do something. And we're on the phone, mind you. He said, who'd you replace me with? I'll preface by saying that he hated Kevin Sullivan, loathed Kevin Sullivan. Anytime in the past we brought his name up for coming in, he'd say, no, I don't want that fucker. No Kevin Sullivan. And that's why I ended up bringing in. So I said, I replaced you with Kevin Sullivan. You could have heard a pin drop on the other end of that phone. It was dead silence. Oh, well, would it be okay if I just came to the arena Saturday night, off the few of my t-shirts and stuff, and just thanked everybody and told me to keep supporting ECW? Well, yeah, I mean, you're my friend. I still consider you a friend, even though you quit. But yeah, of course you can. And that was toward the end of Eddie Gilbert, pretty much for the most part. That night did come in, which caused a ruckus and a half in the back between Paul and Doug Gilbert, and there was a mess back there. And I guess sometime after that, about 6 months to a year, sometime in the next 6 months to a year, he was being brought in by Dennis Carluzzo for the NWA tournament or some kind, to crown NWA champion. And he called me up and said, hey, if you want, I'll throw the belt down like Shane did. We'll turn into a whole big thing and like blah, 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 blah. I said, I appreciate that. It's a cool idea and all, but to me, I said, that's going to bring us back, going back down to that level. We're already like past that level now. I don't have to, we're shooting it. If you ask like Hulk Hogan and WWF and WCW, you're shooting on Dennis Carluzzo now. It's like really counterproductive. It's going the wrong direction, but thanks.